Sacrifice. The action of giving something up, relinquishing something you have, or retiring from something you do. Not only that, but not all sacrifices are created equal. Some are arguably much more grandiose than others. But arguably the greatest sacrifice a man can make is his own life. Attack on Titan has death, and a lot of it. Countless soldiers die, and civilians. And they can die nameless, and in some unfortunate cases, the world of Attack on Titan is the ideal setting to explore the lengths that people will go to for just the slightest glimmer of hope that maybe one day mankind will truly be free. It is evident that only those like Commander Erwin are able to face their deaths with pride, as they can die with a vision of a liberated humanity. In Attack on Titan, the enemies are not just the 5 to 100 meter giants roaming around the world with the sole purpose of dining humanity, but also humanity itself. Since it is revealed that Titans are actually humans becoming Titans, it makes the dichotomy that much more fascinating. The Titans represent the external human threat, and those in the government represent an internal threat. In a way, in reality, humanity not only faces opposition on the outside, but from the inside too. And there exists much political corruption and borderline communism within the walls. One party controls all economic, social, and academic activity across the walls, with the Puppet King as leader. All of the nobles
locked away in a tower,
or in this case, Wolsena, whilst the commoners live closest to the danger. The interesting part about this though is the divide that happens in Season 3. Military factions become enemies and try to wipe each other out. The main reason for the conflict between the Scout Regiment and the internal police are the philosophical differences regarding their sacrifice, which have been foreshadowed from episode 1. The Scouts' main objective is to leave the walls in an attempt to rediscover what was lost after the Titan threat emerged. This means that they need to venture through the gates beyond the walls to learn more about the world and the Titan. However, this is where the difference between the two military factions lie. Being a scout requires risking your life with a very low rate of success, meaning that you're very likely to get eaten and basically die. As a result, generally the numbers of recruits are very low, as you'd expect, and understandably so. Being in a scout regiment requires immense bravery and belief in humanity's freedom one day. It is as Grisha Jaeger said to Pixis, I believe it was Pixis, the scouts are the pride of humanity because they go out of their comfort zone, they want change, they actively try to change the situation that humanity is in. Those who join the interior police typically care less for achieving freedom one day and have somewhat given up on fighting the Titans and have accepted their fate. I think it's because they're afraid, they're fearful of what could happen, whatever it may be. In a way, these guys have taken the blue pill and desire to stay blissfully ignorant of the looming threat and wish to enjoy the rest of their days in half-hearted peace. The key thing to note here though is that there are two types of individuals within the walls. Those who value their lives over the whole of humanity's best interests, and those who place humanity's freedom over their own lives. This is apparent in the scene where Erwin is being sentenced to death under the charge against humanity, as he, falsely, was accused of putting his own needs before the needs of humanity, basically being unwilling to sacrifice for the greater good. This shows that not only are the sacrifices of people in Attack on Titan huge, but they are also expected if it means humanity can even very slightly benefit. In this trial, a ploy was set up by Pixis, where the government were told that a Titan had just breached Wall Maria. The solution provided was to allow the citizens to enter Wolsena to seek refuge. However, the government refused this greatly, and they really didn't want anyone to enter Wolsena because they knew that they would indirectly suffer due to lack of resources, so they would be putting their own necks out if they were to let these people come in and take refuge within their part of the wall. But this was revealed to be fake. This ordeal showed the Garrison Regiment, ruled by Pixis, that the current government was corrupt because they were unfit to rule and they had to be taken out as a result. In a way, it feels like a socialist revolution. The majority took down the corrupt government to achieve the centric aim, pursuit of the truth and doing what is best for the majority, not the minority. Not for the few, but for the many.
For the many, not the few.
A strong message of Attack on Titan is that a great change cannot be created without sin, suffering, and sacrifice. Death has become so unbelievably commonplace, it's become expected, like Britain during the plague. A crushing scene in Season 3 shows a group of new recruits being told that the only option they have is to stay and die, or run out on horseback into a suicidal charge. This news devastates everyone. They're young, full of dreams and ambitions, and they probably expected to live to an old age and see their dreams through. Instead, they're faced with the bitter truth that it all must come to an end right here, right now, and that their deaths are nothing but absolutely and completely, utterly meaningless. Now imagine this happening to the thousands of other soldiers, men, women and children. The only guise to justify their deaths is the prospect of a greater good. The greater good that one day man will be able to travel around the God-given earth and live in the way they choose and not be confined like within a cage with like cattle for the slaughter. Maybe Attack on Titan is a metaphor for the way we treat animals and the way we encage them and devour them. I'm not a vegan or vegetarian or anything, and don't take this as a anti-carnivorism agenda. But maybe Attack on Titan is trying to tell us something, you know? Very Animal Farm-esque. Who knows? Sacrifice is not only applied on the side of humanity, as those whom infiltrated within the walls had to betray their comrades and escort them to their deaths. Annie, Berthold, and Reiner, for instance, as now it is unveiled what their true motives are, they really feel guilty and sometimes remorseful in the case of Berthold, showing that it's not exactly a walk in the park for them either. They want Eren to come along quietly, not because it is easier, but because they don't want to harm him as a comrade. They've made friends with this guy, they've been on missions with this guy, they've developed some sort of affinity with him, man. The only other anime I can think of that handles the theme of sacrifice to this level of depth is Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, where the primary idea is that nothing can be gained without sacrificing something of equal value. In Attack on Titan, the inhabitants have the choice to risk losing everything or sacrifice nothing but live in constant unease and fear, and no way to live according to the scouts. Armin said it himself, someone who can't sacrifice anything can't change anything. Another example of sacrifice in Attack on Titan comes from the Race family. Only problem is, to pass on the ability of becoming the new founding Titan, they need to eat the current heir, which means that someone has to be sacrificed every time a new person is made heir to the founding Titan. For a new occupant, there needs to be a sacrifice. Also, the Titan powers have been revealed to have a huge cost. The bearer can only live for 13 years. The great power of the Titans comes with great sacrifice. Life must be traded for incredible power. All of these aforementioned sacrifices seem to be in the name of change, as we have stated earlier. Nothing can be changed unless sacrifices are made. With great change comes great sacrifice. The protagonists want freedom, which has an extraordinarily large price tag. The deaths of hundreds of thousands of dreams, legacies, livelihoods, all in the collective vision of freedom. And that is the ultimate sacrifice.
Only myself. Hesitating, gravitating, not being sober, Lance's back in years taken over.